Andrew here from the Revisionist Almanac. All the voting polls for the eligible categories featured on the 1973 episode have now closed, and it's time to reveal the winners who will be officially added to the Almanac. I want to first thank my guest Frank Mandosa from Reels of Cinema podcast for featuring on the episode. I also want to take a moment and I want to thank Ralph Esparza, who was scheduled to be part of the episode, but he wasn't able to be there due to a passing in his family. And I again want to send my condolences to Ralph and everybody in his family. We made sure, though, to still have Ralph's picks as part of the voting process, since I know he put in the prep time and I valued the effort that he put in. Make sure you find and follow both Frank and Ralph's work on social media by using the handles in the description of this episode. Let's get on to the voting now. So we were unable to agree with any of the Academy's picks that year, so all 6 of the categories went to online votes, where you ultimately got to decide who the winners were. Best Supporting Actress was a battle between 2 women, the actual Oscar winner, Tatum O'Neal from Paper Moon, and Madeline Kahn, also from Paper Moon. It was very cool to see Frank give flowers to Madeline Kahn, who has long been underrated for her comedic work, but she never stood a chance against one of the great child acting performances of all time. Kahn pulled a respectable 33.3%, but she was no match for Tatum O'Neal, who cruised to victory with 66.7%. So with the win, Tatum O'Neal retains her Oscars victory, and she joins Viola Davis from Fences, Dorothy Malone from Written on the Wind, Louise Beavers from Imitation of Life, Toni Collette from The Sixth Sense, Meryl Streep from The Devil Wears Prada, Piper Laurie from Carrie, Marissa Berenson from Barry Lyndon, Marissa Tomei from In the Bedroom, Angela Lansbury from Beauty and the Beast, Jessica Lange from Tootsie, and Lucy Liu from Kill Bill Volume 1 as revised Supporting Actress winners in Season 2. We move over to Best Supporting Actor now, where we had 4 men competing for glory. The actual Oscar winner, John Houseman from The Paper Chase, Jason Miller from The Exorcist, picked by Ralph, Robert De Niro from Mean Streets, picked by myself, or you could have gone with Christopher Lee from The Wicker Man, which was Frank's pick. As most anticipated, the Oscar winner John Houseman fell by the wayside early, and he was not up to the others put against him in this battle. He earned a paltry 3.6% of the vote. Not too far behind him, though, was Christopher Lee, whose 17.9% was only good enough for 3rd place. Jason Miller and Robert De Niro scrapped until the end, and when the polls closed, Miller scored 31% to De Niro's 47.5%. This is now Robert De Niro's 2nd revised win of the season, the other being in lead actor for Taxi Driver on the 76th episode, and it means he now enters the halls of the Almanac in the supporting actor category, alongside Mahershala Ali from Moonlight, James Dean from Giant, William Powell from Manhattan Melodrama, Tom Cruise from Magnolia, Alan Arkin from Little Miss Sunshine, Burgess Meredith from Rocky, Robert Shaw from Jaws, Joe Pantoliano from Memento, Anthony Hopkins from The Silence of the Lambs, Rutger Hauer from Blade Runner, and most recently Tim Robbins from Mystic River. Up next was the Best Actress race, where we had 2 women going toe-to-toe here. The actual winner that year, Glenda Jackson from A Touch of Class, also picked by Ralph, or you could have gone with Ellen Burstyn from The Exorcist, who both Frank and I threw our support behind. Just like Supporting Actress, where there were only 2 women to choose from and a clear favorite, the voting went exactly as predicted. Glenda Jackson may have a gold statue to her name, but her movie seems to be forgotten in time, with only 18.2% of people picking her. Ellen Burstyn cleaned up and took the remaining 81.8% to sail to victory. Ellen Burstyn is now the 12th revised Best Actress this season, and she stands alongside Amy Adams from Arrival, Ingrid Bergman from Anastasia, Claudette Colbert from It Happened One Night, Hilary Swank from Boys Don't Cry, Ivana Baquero from Pan's Labyrinth, Faye Dunaway from Network, Louise Fletcher from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Naomi Watts from Mulholland Drive, Jodie Foster for The Silence of the Lambs, Meryl Streep for Sophie's Choice, and Charlize Theron for Monster. Transitioning over to Best Actor, where we had 3 men who you could have thrown your support behind here. The actual winner, Jack Lemmon from Save the Tiger, Al Pacino from Serpico, picked by both Frank and Ralph, or my pick, which was Robert Redford for The Sting. The trend continues for a 3rd consecutive category where the real winner that year couldn't get any momentum. Jack Lemmon is a legendary Hollywood figure, but only 15.7% of you thought he deserved to keep the crown against his competitors. Pacino and Redford had a photo finish, one of the closest in any categories to date, separated by just over 1%. Redford took 42.7% to Pacino's 41.6%, and with the very narrow win, Robert Redford, in a true movie star performance, joins Casey Affleck from Manchester by the Sea, James Dean from Giant, Clark Gable from It Happened One Night, Edward Norton from Fight Club, Forrest Whitaker from The Last King of Scotland, Robert De Niro from Taxi Driver, Jack Nicholson from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Denzel Washington from Training Day, Anthony Hopkins from The Silence of the Lambs, Paul Newman from The Verdict, and Bill Murray from Lost in Translation in the lead category for Season 2. We move up to Best Director now, where we had 4 marvelous choices to cast your vote towards. You could have gone with the actual winner, George Roy Hill from The Sting, Terrence Malick from Badlands, my pick, William Friedkin for The Exorcist, Ralph's pick, or you could have gone with Robin Hardy from The Wicker Man, Frank's pick. Now, while Frank made a compelling case for Robin Hardy's work, his 4.7% of the vote meant a 4th place spot on the podium. George Roy Hill and Terrence Malick each had a contingent of online fans, but their 25.9% and 27.1% respectively saw them grab the bronze and silver medals, leaving the gold and final 42.3% of your ballots to William Friedkin and his work on The Exorcist. This win now has him in company with Denis Villeneuve for Arrival, John Ford for The Searchers, Frank Capra from It Happened One Night, the Wachowskis for The Matrix, Martin Scorsese for both The Departed and Taxi Driver, Steven Spielberg for Jaws, Jonathan Demme for Silence of the Lambs, John Carpenter for The Thing, and Peter Jackson for both Fellowship of the Ring and The Return of the King in Season 2. We now get to the big one, the Best Picture. There were 3 monumental films you could have gone with in the voting process. The Oscar winner, The Sting, The Exorcist, which both Ralph and I felt was best, or you could have gone with The Wicker Man, Frank's selection. For the 3rd time in the categories it was competing in, The Wicker Man couldn't find its footing, perhaps because the horror community favored the other notable film that year. This folk horror classic ended the vote with just 3.5%. And while The Sting is a fun, easy, breezy movie, my feelings about it being a somewhat underwhelming Best Picture win sandwiched between the 2 Godfather movies seems to be shared among many of you. It scored 38.8%, and the majority of the votes, 57.7% to be exact, were compelled to side with The Exorcist. The win means the iconic horror film takes the revised Best Picture award, and it's the 12th winner of the category this year, next to 2016's La La Land, 1956's The Searchers, 1934's It Happened One Night, 1999's The Matrix, 2006's Children of Men, 1976's Network, 1975's Jaws, 2001's The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, 1991's The Silence of the Lambs, 1982's Blade Runner, and 2003's The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. And in addition to the regular 6 categories you vote on each month, we now have the Gorham Awards for Egregious Oversight, where the guests and I could each select one of the Oscars categories that year and revise what won with what we thought should have won before turning the power over to you. For 1973, we had 2 Gorham Awards. I submitted Best Original Song, preferring Live and Let Die by Paul McCartney over the winner that year, The Way We Were by Barbra Streisand. And it seemed like I'm not the only one that finds Streisand a little tiring, or maybe there are just that many Beatles and 007 fans out there, because Live and Let Die crushed The Way We Were 91.4% to 8.6%. Ralph decided to go with Best Cinematography, and he brought The Way We Were to the table as his revision, feeling it was more deserving than Cries and Whispers, which actually won that year. And for the very first time, one of the actual Oscar winners in a Gorham Award found itself with support, and it kept its prize, because The Way We Were fared better here than Original Song, getting 28.2%, but it was still miles behind Cries and Whispers, which took 71.8% of your votes, meaning Ingmar Bergman's film is still the best cinematography win that year. I just want to thank everybody that took part in the voting process, whichever social media platform you used. Just a reminder, you can find and follow the show on Instagram, Twitter, Threads, TikTok, and Blue Sky at the handle Rev Almanac. This is going to be where the voting takes place each and every month. The more places you follow the show, the more opportunities you have to vote for the actors, the directors, and the films you're passionate about. And as always, feel free to send me your feedback with a DM on any of those social media platforms, or you can email directly into the show at revisionistalmanac@yahoo.com. This will now conclude the 1973 episode cycle and the end of season 2. But on the way next is the 25th episode, the season 3 premiere, covering the 2007 year in film, where I was joined by two awesome, crazy, fun first-time guests, Frankie and Scott from Shoot the Flick. Did the three of us agree with the actual Oscar winners that year, such as Daniel Day-Lewis, Marion Cotillard, and No Country for Old Men, or did we bring other nominees to the table? You're just going to have to check out that episode and find out for yourself. Thanks as always for being here. I'm Andrew. Can't wait to see you next time.